But we thought we needed to start with the farming first, because if you do the engineering, what are you going to gin? If there is no cotton there. So we started with engineering. We are working now with Cairo and AFA. Not just do BT cotton, but also do the hybrid. BT, even though it has good prices and it is doing very well, there is a problem because it's very expensive. The owners of the seed are selling it to us very expensively, and we don't think it's sustainable. We are trying to work with them to see how we can be able to access the seeds and then be able to propagate them locally. Buying them from India at those premium prices may not be in the long term a sustainable way to do it. And therefore, we are working on that. We are under task force that produces a report on how to revive cotton, and it has a clear roadmap. We have a task force that also has come up with a very clear roadmap on how to revive Pyrethrum. Marube talked about it. And already, you looked at today's Gazette notice, I already appointed a board that will start running the Pyrethrum company that is based in Nakuru, that used to be the giant driver of that subsector. We already are putting some money to start the process of propagating seedlings, increasing, because the biggest challenge we have right now is actually availability of seedlings. Farmers are ready to plant, but we are very slow in providing the seedlings. We have private sector participating, but the government has been very slow. We are putting a bit of money for the first phase. We want to target the 5 big counties that used to do Pyrethrum, so that we have impact there, big impact. And then we have assigned the private sector some of the other counties also. We believe in another 2 years from now, we will be back to being a big producer of Pyrethrum. We may not be top the way you used to be. It will take us a little bit longer because, of course, can provide seeds and all that, but the seasons are only 2 in a year. So you can only grow, exponentially depending on how quickly you expand, but you can't multiply the seasons. You need to do irrigation, like we are trying to do in Lamu. I mean, not Lamu. We have now hit around 300 million in terms of disbursement of the cherry fund. But what you also need to know is the cherry fund, once you disburse, you're also supposed to pay immediately your coffee is sold. So you may not see a lot of numbers because the access, some are accessing now, others are refunding, are also paying. So if you look at what is being held in loans, it can deceive you because there are people already who received, because now the coffee payments are not taking 1 year the way they used to do. We are selling the coffee and paying the farmers immediately. The new regulations require once you sell the coffee, your money is paid immediately. So you are paid as many times as you have sold your coffee. Yeah, so what we are trying to see is what else we can, other services that we may review regulations so to support the farmers with, because that money is there. And given the size of the sector, it may not all go to the loaning. We may have to see what other services can we provide to the farmers with that money. Because the money was there, 12% there to 12 farmers. Even though it was intended for loaning, we think it's a large sum, it can be utilized for other things. But we still want it to remain a revolving fund to help stabilize the coffee sector. We don't want to take it into risky business. We want it to continue helping the farmers. We may want to think about inputs. Do we use this sort of to stock inputs in your KPCU where farmers can buy affordable inputs directly? So we are thinking, we certain the regulation, but we want to review them to see what other additional services can we incorporate into the fund to continue helping the sector. So the amendment, the SASRA Act, to provide for that, and the Banking Act also, I presume. Those are the amendments that we are proposing, so that the SACCOs are able to access the national payment system directly. They become participants. They are setting up their own clearing like a clearing house. And then they can also intersect on borrowing, overnight borrowing that you see banks do because they are connected together into the national payment system. So that's what we are trying to do. Because now banks have to go through, SACCOs have to go through a particular bank. So they become like subsidiary to that bank because they cannot access directly the national payment system in their own right. So we want to group them together so that they can be able to set up a clearing house and access the national payment system on their own directly. You get me?
Yes, yes.
So the challenge where we have a challenge now is the production of cotton, not the factory to produce the fabric or to buy, because Rivertex is buying from Uganda. The production of cotton in the country is very low, very, very low. So we need to deal with that challenge before we increase the factories because we already have overcapacity. Rivertex alone has to import cotton from Uganda. You get me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's why we are focusing now on the ginnery. It's also a factory. Ginnery is, by the way, is an industry. It's a factory, it's a processor.
Yeah.
And then growing of cotton. Once you increase that capacity and feed the existing factories, then it will be automatic. They will start expanding. We are even reviving the one that was there in Nanyuki. Remember, there used to be also a textile factory in Nanyuki. It was called Montex. We have revived Rivertex. President gave us a directive to revive Montex. We have identified the land there already. We've also raised some resources. We couldn't revive Kikomi because Kikomi was bought by it's a private factory now. But there's a plan to set up a special economic zone in Muoroni. And part of what will be put there is a textiles factory in Muoroni, which will be processing byproduct of sugar and also agro-processing. And the key component there will be what Rivertex used to do. And the land has been identified there from that sugar factory that is owned by government. We have identified 1,000 acres there. And it clearly says who is supposed to regulate coffee trading, the coffee exchange, and also the tea bill, which already passed. It's very clear. So CMA should restrict themselves to securities. To create an overall agricultural commodity regulator. That's the vision we follow. You create a regulator who will oversee the trading of all agricultural commodities. Once we restructure AFA, you remember AFA is regulator. Even when they are saying they're giving notices, they are forgetting in the Crops Act, AFA is a regulator. So they want to delude you that they are the only regulators. The law was amended without amending the Crops Act to remove that regulation from AFA. So AFA remains the regulator until we restructure AFA. So what will happen? Were already implemented even before the law came. Remember, when was that time? Last year, when we imposed the minimum price. We used the authority of the office to impose the minimum price without the regulation. What we have done now is formalize it through regulations. Now we've started with the new price, which is at 3 bob. We have started the review to have a new price set now within the next 6 months, because we said we will be reviewing every 6 months. But as I've said before, already because of the shortage of milk, farmers are earning over 40 shillings, some are earning even 45. There are places they're earning even 80. I was checking on in the social media information that I could see in some remote areas where it's very difficult to access milk. People are buying even at 80 shillings. So that price is not intended to reflect the current price. That price is when there is a glut, there is excess milk. That's when you need to protect the farm. And that's when you put, because the prices tend to collapse at that time. Because even people pour milk because there's nobody to buy. That's when we are saying, even then, you must pay the farmers a reasonable price that reflects the cost and also a bit of profit. And of course, if the milk is excess, we will still continue supporting institutions like new KCC to mop up the milk. But then we're also tightening the import. importation processes so that we allow only quality products coming into the country. That again also stabilizes the price. So we believe in the next review the price will go higher, the minimum.
What is the
Higher
price right now, as set in the law?
That 3 shillings.
That will be the minimum.
That's the minimum price, yes. That is the minimum guaranteed price. If you pay a farmer less than that, you'll be committing an offense. Farm gate price. If I'm keeping my cows now and I want to go and sell, I should not accept to be paid less than that 3 shillings per liter.
Any fine on that?
Yes, there are fines in the law. It is illegal to pay the farmer less than that 3 shillings. Now, you will not have a problem now because I'm telling you the prices now are higher because of the shortage of milk. Farmers are earning 40, 45. I know like New KCC is paying over 40 shillings. I knew Brookside is also paying over 40 shillings. I know cooperatives that are also paying that kind of average because right now, because of COVID and other challenges, milk production has gone down. We are telling the farmers to take advantage of the demand for milk and the stabilized prices to invest in production because the market is there.
My question is in line with Muluanda Jinari in the second.
Just like the banks do, they can lend to other circles which have low liquidity, and that can be done in a cheaper manner because credit is not really affordable in our country. The interest rates are very, very, very high. The loans have always been structured and even top-ups, like when you have difficulties and like you discuss and you are given more money and it's converted to another new loan, that is a kind of restructuring.
We don't put so much burden on guarantors, but instead we want to introduce the scheme, insurance scheme, so that the burden of members who have guaranteed their colleagues is not big. But then if they die or they have moved out of institutions, we can be able to go back to the insurance for rebate.